officially start and see how awkward it got.
I was going to say, so are you going to have to delete
ready.
other thing? Or?
So, I don't know. We haven't even come up with a name for this. So,
what is a good name? Like, we were thinking like the whole zero to hero, but what's a better way of doing that?
Yeah, for sure, zero. For sure.
Definitely.
For sure, zero.
Definitely.
If I'm pointing at
Zero
Britton,
kills
exactly.
to keep hammering.
Yeah.
zero to keep hammering.
In between.
Yeah.
Bridging
Zero
the
to
gap.
hammering. Zero to hammering.
Zero to
Zero to
hammering.
hammering.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get a cease and desist on that one.
Dang it. Probably.
Cameron's going to be like,
Well, it's your podcast, so I don't care.
You're like, screw it. I'm just a guest here. That seems like your problem, not my problem.
That's right. Not my podcast, not my
Exactly.
problem. Yeah.
Exactly. Well,
We'll figure it out later.
we haven't come up with a name for what we're doing right now, but we are at Archery Country at Full Draw, which I think we can all safely say is the last Full Draw in Texas this year.
Yep.
And
That's the word.
That's the word. At least from management, that is the word. But we're at Archery Country in Austin, and, man, this place is awesome. This is my first time here, and I'm looking at a bear's ass, some white-tailed deer, turkeys,
I think you were talking about
elk.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
You can figure out who the bear is, but no, it's a big brown bear. Is that a color phase? Like,
That's a black bear, yeah.
yeah, black bear, color phased. The amateur may say, "Hey, there's a grizzly bear," and you would be wrong because that looks like a dog.
That would be a baby.
That would be a
grizzly
baby
bear.
grizzly bear. It's,
Congratulations.
bear of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're gonna be talking. We've got Trevor and Brandon and
Everybody calls me Shook.
Shook.
Yeah.
Britton.
Britton.
Yep.
Everybody's here from BHA for the Full Draw event, and I think we're going to talk about like how to hunt. Where do you start? Like, you know.
Yep. No, I think a big deal and a very what would you call it? A very common question that is happening right now throughout the outdoor space from people who have always thought about hunting, have always thought about fishing, have really gotten into this whole home cooking, understanding where your food comes from, locavore, everything
Farm
else
to
like
table,
this.
field to table.
Absolutely. And people want to know what's going in their bodies. Well, and the only way to step that up and really know what's going in it is to actually take the game yourself.
Be a part of the cycle.
Absolutely. We are so detached from all of it that people have no idea.
No.
And
Talk about a leap of faith.
absolutely. And so
right.
and so our big deal, especially all of us sitting here as backcountry hunters and anglers, is public land, conserving water, land, everything else like this. And the only way that we have people actually care about these specific things when we bring them up on social media and things like this is if they have a vested emotional interest in them.
Absolutely.
And the best way to become emotionally invested is to become part of what we all love. What we have sharp teeth, we have eyes in the front of our heads. You know, biology says that we all came from this at one time. And I believe that, and that's through, I've taken many people hunting, fishing, giving away bows, you know, heck, giving away, I think I've got a couple shotguns that are missing that I gave, you know, people. But I've never met a single kid or an adult who did not enjoy being outside.
No doubt.
Being a part of the actual cycle. And it's really, really funny. And I know this is kind of a tangent right off the bat, but we went 2007, went up to the Eagles Nest Wilderness with a buddy of mine, elk hunting. And the second day, we hike up there, been like 6.5 miles, had way too much stuff. This is before, you know, I'd read the Cam Haynes book in 2005 right out of college.
How to hunt with less than 10 pounds?
Yeah,
you know,
well,
kind of
except
thing?
we did it the other way. We
Yeah.
were scared to death that we were going to – so we had shit hanging off
Yeah.
our backpacks,
Just-
all that other stuff, right? Like just clang banging, all this other stuff. Well, we got into elk the very first day, and my buddy, who's a big kayaker, outside guy, everything else like this, he had gotten a bow and all this other stuff, and I had sent him up. I was like, run, because we had bumped this elk. And there was a game trail going across from right to left, going up the hill. That elk was going. I told him to run, and I was going to cow call from behind, and hopefully we can just slow him down enough.
Yeah.
Well, he ended up not getting a shot because it was too thick, but he comes down, his eyes look like saucers.
Yeah.
And he was like, that is completely different. He's like, I've hiked and seen elk and all this other stuff, but whenever I put my release on that string, my mouth got dry.
Yeah.
My heart started beating. All this. I was like, again, you've gone to becoming a participant in the play of life compared to a simple voyeur.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You've gone
exactly.
from you're now the man or woman in the arena, and that's what we need. We need more and more people to step into the arena, and maybe that's our name.
Step into the arena.
Stepping
I like
into
it.
the arena.
Stepping into the arena. I like that.
You know, and so the reason we're kind of sitting here and talking about this is kind of a new idea that we have here to get people started from. I have no idea what to do, where to go, how to do it, anything else like this. It'll be probably a multi-year project, actually, to do it right.
There's no doubt. I mean, just because I think that's the biggest challenge too. Is where do you don't even know where to start, and it's so overwhelming, and there's so many options. And I mean, obviously, if you try to just track something down on the internet, you're going to get into a wormhole that just makes you almost go, I don't know. Well, I don't have a $5,000 pair of pants, and I don't have a $20,000 bow, and I don't have this piece of equipment or that piece of equipment. I mean, you can go to Walmart or Academy or Archery Country, and you can get everything you need to hunt tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah, well, it's a big investment to make, and I think a lot of people where they get intimidated too, just talking about this investment that we make is a lot of my hunting gear has been accumulated since I was 12 years old.
Exactly.
Like really getting into it, really buying my own stuff, even my fishing equipment from lures. Just lures, knives, camo pants, camo shirts, hats. Whatever we cycle through, but. A lot of people look at my gear and they'll go, "Oh my gosh, you have so much gear!" And they go, "Where does that money come from?" I'm like, "Well, it's been a, 20-year investment into this." And
I didn't just go with nothing yesterday and just plop the credit card down and pay for this. So I think that's kind of like what you were saying is like, where would anybody start? What do I need to have? What do I don't need to have? What is kind of not gimmicky necessarily, but you may need it 2 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
When you really bitten into this thing hardcore, that's where you may need to go. Love First Light, but you don't need a pair of First Light gear to go hunt.
Exactly.
I don't recommend blue jeans. I saw plenty of people in blue jeans hunting last year. I saw people walk through my stand step in white jeans last year, and I was just like, "What are you doing?" Like of all the colors you could have worn, white.
Yeah,
but
they were gonna make their own camo.
Exactly, they were just mudding in there.
You say that, but like killing first elk had a Walmart tent.
I
had Carhartt pants. I had Magellan boots. I had a Cabela's Microtex shirt. And a Kelty Cash Hauler used backpack.
Yeah.
So that's our big deal, and I really, really think that the best way to do this is don't worry about the gear first. Let's find out about. Let's get legal. Let's find out what you need to do to get legal.
Yeah.
And at least talking about the state of Texas right now.
Yeah.
Let's find out what you need to get legal. Let's find out what you need to do to get whatever weapon or tools that you need, whether that be a bait caster one way or other, or a bow, a rifle, a shotgun, whatever that is. And then, obviously, finding the locations to partake in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a big deal, going through the regulations, things like this. And so, today we'll probably just go kind of broad, talking about the idea behind this.
Yeah.
Stepping into the arena, and we got Britton here to kind of give us a little history, personal history, as far as where he, an adult onset hunter, and where his coming and thinking and things like this. But as these kind of go on, we will get very detailed into it. And I've also I'll plan on building some videos that we can put into it.
Yeah.
That allow us to do some screen capture stuff that allows anybody to go onto the YouTube or whatever we want to put it on, or the Facebook group or whatever, and they can know exactly where they need to go.
Yeah.
And things like that. But I think today would be a great kind of an introduction and maybe even sharing some ideas of where we all kind of started.
Agreed.
Well,
and things like that.
I like it. It's
I like that.
Well, I like the fact that we're trying to figure out how to continue the conversation, right? Not just get you in the arena, but to really participate, to be.
How to get you where you can get somebody else in the arena.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the key.
That's exactly
this
right.
all disappears without more people being able to go in there, because that's the whole thing is land is valuable, right?
Yeah.
The land basis and all this other stuff, and so maybe not necessarily in Texas, but we want people that are interested on a national level that understand and love our public lands and waters, because they understand that they're going to be the guys that are going to call their senators and their congressmen whenever these national problems come up out of Utah or Wyoming or wherever the heck it is.
Well, and the other thing, I mean, private landowners too got to start thinking about this is going to go away for them, and even their rights to hunt and things like that too. I mean, we got to figure out a way. Which the one thing I really appreciate about BHA and about the last year is building bridges, not just across all recreators on land, but even trying to come with private land folks and encouraging. I know I've gotten stuff, just encouraging me to look into. Hey, and I may get this wrong, but like Montana, they have private land permissions that folks can come on these lands to use it to hunt and things like that.
Yep.
And being able to figure out how maybe we can do that in Texas.
I mean, I think that's a great way to help incentivize things. And, I mean, all these different states have different areas and different unique ways of doing that. Like, I think Kansas and the Midwest, they do that kind of like the CRP stuff where they're like.
They have a walk-in. Yeah. I've hunted walk-in Kansas.
Exactly.
Some of the, like for turkey. And I'm saying I found huge sheds.
Yeah.
On walk-in.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, I think we can incentivize private landowners to allow access. And, I mean, I think organizations like BHA and, the multitude of organizations that exist out there to help educate people on how to act and how to behave and what they should be doing. And we hold each other accountable and hold each other to a high standard, then you're going to let somebody come out there and,
Which has been the history of hunting, right? I mean, we've kind of self-regulated ourselves, especially when it comes to conservation of species of animals that we like to watch, whether it's birds or big game animals we know we can't hunt, Britton was actually asking me here if there was a bear season in Texas. I said no, but you can sure go out to Chisos Basin and check them out and look at them and watch them. Yeah, those kinds of things. But and then of course one thing that I've heard several times, more than just on Renella's podcast, but how back east and when it was mountain lion hunting, that those guys just instead of saying no, we want to trap them all, we want to kill them all, it was like no guys, if we don't stop what we're doing, we're not going to have any. So we really need to put numbers to this and figure out what's healthy and sustainable so that we can keep doing what we love to do. And I think that's part of this ongoing conversation.
But and that's the new conversation that we're all having on the political aspect, just as like BC, right? We've gone from that science-based. Let the state run all the stuff. Now we're going to an emotional response for everything. Not just hunting, not just fishing, everything, right? You versus me versus him versus them. Well, if we are going to be subject to that, which unfortunately we're going to be, as BC taught us, is we're going to have to get people emotionally involved. And that's the way to do that. And the only way to do that is to get more people out in the woods, which is what we're trying to do.
Agree.
You know what I mean? And so it's we can laud all this, all these different programs that we've done and all this other stuff, but it's almost like we're literally moving into a completely new era. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's one of those things. Like, there's no quick fix for that. There's no it's you and me and you and everybody else doing whatever they can, and hopefully that builds upon itself. Yeah, well, that mentorship that's going to help hopefully build other mentors.
Well, and it's like what we're talking about here. We didn't start this conversation. This is just one brick in the wall, right?
Absolutely.
Which is what I like, especially about BHA. And you find new members all the time, especially in Texas, and they're like, "Oh, what does Texas have?" I mean, if Shook, if you just told me that Texas has less than 2% public land, why does Texas have a BHA chapter?
Yeah,
because I'm a sixth generation Texan. I'm as Texan as they come. I do not want people to be like Texas in that regard.
Yeah. And not to mention to preserve what we've got and increase what we've got, like what we're dealing with right now with Black Gap, with the vote coming up in a couple of weeks here to expand Black Gap by 16,000 acres. I mean, when you have 1.7 million acres of public land in the state, and you can increase by 16,000, that's huge. I mean, that's a tiny little fraction of something in Colorado or Mexico or Montana.
Right.
But in Texas, 16,000 acres, that's a lot.
That's huge.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And so I think that to have an organization, like you said, to educate and to keep people involved and kind of just the thought about it, it's, it's what we're here for. So Britton here is kind of tell us your story. You've been hunting for a little, like, what's kind of that time frame? And
Yeah. So I grew up in a tiny town that I was telling you about a while ago. Pretty tiny, where everyone around me hunted, but no one in my family did.
yeah,
So my dad didn't hunt. My grandparents didn't hunt on either side. My uncle, Tater, that I was telling you about.
I want that as a name one of these days.
Right. It's good stuff. That's on his high school diploma, by the way. But,
Oh man,
Tater
that's kind of
Hadley.
that's kind of in some ingraining that
Yeah.
you can't get that name.
Yeah.
Right.
People tell me that they're
Yeah.
like from redneck families, and I'm like, yeah, I got an uncle named Tater, and they're like, oh,
You win,
wait a minute, never mind.
and you win.
But he would hunt, and I'd get to see him and his older brother Russell, my other uncle, bringing animals home and quartering them up, and then doing all these things, and then they would cook venison, and I'm like, dude, this is amazing.
It's awesome.
Where
Yeah.
can I get some of this? Like, can I go buy this? And they're like, yeah, no. I'm like, can I buy some from you? They're still like, no.
No.
And so, I grew up seeing that, and I grew up hearing stories of people hunting. And I had one buddy growing up that I would always get to tag along with them going down to Hallettsville.
Oh.
And his family owned some land down there, so we'd go and get to hang out and be around it, but
Not
I never
participate.
I never got to do it. Like, I got my first rifle, still have it. It's a Winchester 243. It's an original Model 70 from the early 70s. It's a sweet rifle. I got it when I was 7th grade. Took it with me that fall to hopefully shoot a deer.
Yeah.
But I left the key at home, so the case was locked.
Oh
So
no.
even the chance that I did have to shoot a deer with this rifle, I didn't get to. My best friend shot it, and that was my first encounter with watching a deer drop and going and being part of that, which from then on I was like, man, this would be something that's super awesome to be able to do,
Yeah.
but still had nobody to do it with,
Yeah.
or nobody to teach me how to do those things. That same rifle I shot my first deer with right after I got married in 2013.
Yeah.
So it took from, I don't know, 2003, 2004, took almost, 10 years to shoot a deer,
Yeah.
to actually be able to go and find somebody that would show me just a first step.
But I think that's an important thing that a lot of people who are brand new have to have is you obviously had the will to want to go do this and keep yourself involved in it somehow, right? It would have been
Yeah.
easy for you to pick up a golf club and forget all about it and, start playing golf all the time instead, or whatever hobby. But obviously you were committed to it, and I hate to use that cliche, but if there's a will, there's a way, and eventually, it may take 10 years. but
Exactly.
you
Sometimes
get
you have
there.
to be okay with that,
Yeah.
but you have to, the worst somebody can tell you is no,
Absolutely.
right? So would it have hurt me to go ask Shook to show me how to do something with archery, or be like, hey, man, I heard you got a bow. What is the first step?
How do I do this? Yeah.
Yeah, the worst he could have said was, yeah, no, go find somebody
Yeah.
else.
Which
Exactly.
I did
Which he-
because I was brand new too.
He did,
Like,
but
I'm looking for somebody.
yeah, exactly.
Hopefully you know somebody, and if you do, tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly right.
That was like quite literally the conversation that we had whenever I was thinking about it. So my older brother got married, and he never hunted. I was the only one in my family who would even like kind of
Entertain
think
the
about
idea,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
who like really wanted to do it. He married a girl. Her name's Destin, and she is a monster. She has shot some of the biggest deer that I've ever, not just, racks, but like size
Body
of
deer,
deer.
yeah.
Just huge body deer. And I'm like, dude, like that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't want to ask my brother, hey man, can I go hunting with your wife? Because that was, kind of weird. But then he kind of got hooked, and
Yeah.
he got into it. And I was still, me and my wife moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and we were away from it for
Yeah.
that whole time. And of course, I'm a musician, and so you move to Nashville, and most musicians are wussies,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word. They don't want to think about it.
I think the technical
you know.
term is hippie. Right?
Yeah, there you go,
Is that,
sure.
Is that the technical
Yeah.
term? I think so.
Yeah.
But you could be both.
Yeah,
It's kind of a hippie.
and so we moved out there though, and there it was kind of like, man, that would still be cool. There's some huge deer in Tennessee. There's
Yeah.
lots of stuff out here. This would be so cool. But again, I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
I had the desire, but I had no knowledge of how to even start that process. And so when we moved back to Texas almost 3 years ago now, got started there in Dripping Springs, and my older brother, his wife's parents owned a ranch and outdoor store, and so that opened up a road for me to be able to learn some more about equipment and learn some more about, okay, these are the things that I do need to get started.
Yeah.
You know, nothing like you were
The
saying
basics.
earlier. Yeah, I don't need to go spend $4,000
Yeah.
on gear. I can get started with, you know, something cheap from Walmart and go that route.
Yeah.
And so I did. My wife's family has some land up in Bowie outside of Decatur. Shot a couple of deer there, and from then on, I'm like, okay, I don't want it to stop here.
Yeah.
So I took those deer home, and our mutual buddy with Mount and Shook's mutual buddy was like, hey, dude, I heard you shot some deer. And I'm like, yes. He's like, cool, I'm going to come teach you some stuff. And I'm like,
Awesome.
sweet, because I don't have a clue what to do next.
Sweet.
Like, I know
What
how
do
to
I do
field dress
now?
it because
Yeah.
I watched that as a kid, and I had
Yeah.
to go through, you know, hunter safety and stuff. But I'm like, what do I do now? And he's like, well, now you got to get it off the bone.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Oh, great.
okay. And so going through that whole process, but it's all, I mean, the first step was just finding somebody who
Yeah.
was
Show you how to
willing
do
to
it.
teach me and who actually knew what they were talking about. You know,
Agreed.
um,
That can be a challenge in of itself, right there. Is what do I do, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be kind of the main aim of this whole little thing we're going to do, which is to every step of the way. Like I said, where do I even start, and what do I need? Where do I go? What do I do? I mean,
Yeah, and I think the big part is we need to get people out, even if they don't have the gear yet.
yeah,
yeah,
Like, we need to be willing to come in and be like, hey, I'm going to so-and-so public lands in Texas. We're going to let people know, and we're going to have little get-togethers. And even if we're not even hauling gear, or say someone else has got a bow
Yeah.
or whatever, I want somebody in my hip pocket.
yeah,
Because I want to explain what I'm doing, right? It makes no difference whether you're going over financials as a learning business.
yep,
Like, you need to be able to look over somebody's shoulder.
yeah, and kind of see.
It is a special person with a special drive that can do anything all on their own. And to be honest with you, like, just about everything's a team sport. I
Absolutely.
don't care what anybody thinks.
That's
right?
right.
Yeah.
And so we need to find more team captains to help these people, mentors, whatever you want to call it. We need to find more of those people that are willing to just give up their time. And that's a hard thing to do, especially in today's world. We always say that we're all so busy. What are we actually busy with? I don't know. But
yeah,
Netflix.
yeah.
yeah,
Exactly. You know what I mean? But that's my goal is to don't even get bogged down with all the details and your list and all this other stuff. Let's get you legal, or even before you even get legal, let's get you just outside.
Yeah.
And instead of seeing all the trees in the river, let's see where that skunk walked across this deal yesterday. Let's see where that coyote walked by 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Why is it 3 days ago? And that is real funny because I've got a 8-year-old, and we went hunting the other day, just rabbit hunting the other day. And we were looking at bobcat tracks, and when there was a deer track over in top of the bobcat track, and I was asking, which one happened first? I don't know.
well, we're gonna learn.
Well, exactly.
exactly.
You know what I mean? It's that kind of stuff, and that's the hard part. But even if we can just get one person, one person to come with us and understand and mentor these people and things like that. Like with this podcast and with everything that we're going to be doing here, we want to give you soup to nuts, everything that we can. We want to get into all the gear. We want to talk about all this stuff, but we don't want to get hung up in we want to teach you how to run block. We don't want to teach you how to read a defense.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and so that's, I think this would be what I'm very excited about is getting these people that they don't have that experience.
No.
They don't have that mentor. They don't have that person one way or other. And another big deal that I've actually done, and my really long-term goal is I want to be the conduit to help people find more of these private land places.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to be able to show these people to go to that dang feed store
yeah,
and talk to some people, or how to look up information in the county
Registry
appraisal
yeah.
district,
Yeah.
and I want to send a bunch of letters.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Saying, hey, I would love to come shoot a doe and a this. I live at 5 miles away. I can take you out to coffee. We can introduce myself, see my kids, do whatever it is. Just like anything else, if there's a will, there's a way.
Yep. Exactly.
And if you're not willing to commit to that, and if I'm not willing to commit to you as a mentor to be able to actually spend my time, which is the most valuable thing that we have, then we're all just yapping our gums.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But with that said, you got to have your why, and it seems like everyone's why is, at least what I see on the outside, is a lot of like food, right?
Yeah.
That's the big deal, and especially in a town like this, in Austin, right? Everybody wants that feel, the hippie feel, keep Austin weird, do whatever. Yeah. Well, it's really weird if you live in an apartment off Mopac and you go out and you kill a pig and you bring it back and you cook it for all your buddies. Right. That's weird, right? Yeah. Compared to most people.
Yeah.
That's what we want to be able to do.
Yeah.
To the people that actually want to do it. You're going to have to put some effort into it.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and just going along with your train of thought here in Austin, I mean, the weird thing is to actually go to the butcher shop, get the pig, throw it on a pit, right?
Yeah.
But the weirder thing to do is to go out and kill it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To have it skinned, to have it, as Britton was talking about, was, learning how to quarter it up, to do that, and then get to those recipes that we all see on the gram all the time.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that. And I agree. And it is something that, we can get into a bigger, broader question just about mentorship in our society to begin with. But, just keeping it in the scope of hunting, you're going to have students that are wanting to be dedicated.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, Trevor, mentors, too, to be dedicated to it as well. Because, like I watched an Insta story with Remy Warren recently, and he was talking about fishing, and he thinks he's got this PhD in fishing, right? Knows all the knots to tie and how to, the lures to use and the species to go after and what to do. And yet he showed this picture of this little dinky fish that he caught, but yet the student was his wife.
Yeah.
And his wife is catching these bigger fish, and I kindly let Remy know that most people with PhDs work in theory anyway,
Exactly.
But it's one of those things, because that's the thing that like you've already talked about with your kid. That's what I'm doing with my oldest daughter right now. We went to Colorado recently, and I had a strategy and a theory about what would catch fish in this little pond, and plus talking to people. Well, it's not a pond; it was Echo Lake Reservoir, and I told them what I was doing and just wanted to catch, perch or little fish or whatever, just so my daughter would have a good time. And we had worms under a bobber; it wasn't working, so we just started kind of free lining it. And we started catching fish. Well, she had a great time.
Yeah.
But it was those questions, Trevor. Why? Why were those fish, even though it's the same bait, we're throwing over the same little perch beds, why all of a sudden were they coming to get the worm?
Yeah.
But asking those questions and teaching them and bringing them along.
Yeah, and that's where it comes in, and especially I guess that's why I really like fly fishing for trout. Like, during the day, you have to understand what's going on throughout the water column. You got to understand why there's fish here, why there isn't fish here. Same thing with pigs, same thing with deer, right? Mm-hmm. But you don't know that, right? You go out to, and I keep using Granger just up the road, right? You look at this mass of trees. Why is anything here?
Yeah,
why, right? And you have no idea. There's no book to tell you in real life, in real time, why these deer are here.
Yeah.
And not here.
Absolutely. Yeah. And same thing with elk and all this other stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you'll have 95% of the animals in 10% of the space, right? Yep. Like, because it depends, and every place is different. Where here on Granger's, things like this, you might have a lot of traffic up and down one road, where on the other side of the river, there's no traffic, right? Yeah. Nobody wants to go across the deal, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why we got pressure. Or you go out there and you see that there's different masts. You know what I mean? Like, this year's going to be dry as all get out. If you can find a good producing acorn or oak tree with acorns, you're going to find animals, right?
Yep.
How the heck is somebody supposed to know that?
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's just like you were talking about. You're trying to find these oases, even in private land when you're scouting and looking at you're looking to see why is it an oasis because it's got good bedding. Is it because of mass and food? Is it because of water? And then, of course, we all know, that's essentially the golden triangle is the place that has all of those things together.
Yep.
But again, it is intimidating when you talk about these things. And, somebody listening to this right now is going, I'm not going to know how to do that.
I don't know what is a mastery. I know what an acorn is, but you know,
Right.
how do I find out?
Going with my buddy growing up, watching what they did, I always just assume, you throw some corn on the ground and then deer appear.
Yeah,
Right?
they smell it.
Like-
And it can.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
not
no
gonna
doubt.
lie.
Right?
Yeah.
Baiting kind of changes things.
Yeah,
But yeah.
exactly. Now I know some different things because of
Mhm.
Shook and because
Yeah.
of Brian, our other buddy. But you can watch something and you go, oh, okay, well that's what you're supposed to do there.
Yeah,
But go 2 miles this way and it's going to be totally different, probably.
Right.
Even
It's-
little bitty areas. It's just everything changes.
Absolutely.
100%.
And that's true with anything, right? Like any pursuit, whether that's chess, whether that's surfing, whether that's trapping, whether that whatever. And it's just one of those things, like you've got to have somebody to bounce these questions off of.
Mhm.
And again, we keep getting to this word mentorship, and it's one of those deals, the whole saying, like, when the student needs the teacher appears, or you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it's one of those things, if you go looking for it, you're going to find it. And that's what we're trying to start with this. We want people to come to, the Facebook group with the backcountry hunters and anglers, the, followers on this. Like, that's the whole deal, is like we want to have our own little rendezvous.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Where you got-
And we're going to come out to different spots, whether that's Twin Buttes, whether that's Granger, whether that's Amstead, whether that's, whatever it is, and get these people out there, but they're going to need to drive.
yeah,
And they got to be at least committed. At least you got to have at least a little skin in the game, right?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part, and that's why as we get this thing started, we're going to have to understand, like, if we make it too easy, people don't value it.
no, it becomes just a.
You know what I mean? And so you can't you can lead a horse to water,
Well,
but you can't make them drink.
Yeah, and I don't remember the name of the new movie on Netflix. It's got Josh Brolin, and it's like a comedy.
The legend of a
white-tailed deer
white-tailed
hunter?
deer hunter or something
So
like that, right?
I watched an interview with him and I can't remember the actor's name, but Kenny Powers.
Danny McBride.
Danny McBride. So they're in this interview and they're asking him, like, did y'all grow up as hunting? And Josh Brolin was like, no, I've never done it in my life. And then Danny McBride said, he's like, yeah, I did it, but it was boring. Like those kinds of things. And I've heard that quite a bit too, even about fishing. I got to be quiet and this and that. And I was like, well, it goes back to what Trevor said.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I know pre-podcast we had a conversation about dove hunting. It's a great introductory deal because number one, you get to shoot multiple times.
Yeah.
And let's not pretend like that's not fun.
No. Yeah.
Right. You can sit on your cooler that's got whatever beverages you want in it, or snacks, and you can sit there and be as loud. Well, I shouldn't say as loud as you want, but you can be fairly loud and talk at a good voice, and sit there and try to shoot some birds. It's a great introductory deal. But it's things like that. Like if I were to really take, and I get asked a lot to take people to go hunting. Well, the place I have access to, they really don't want us walking around on their property. They want us to go straight to a deer stand and just sit. Well, yeah, I've grown up doing that. I've gotten to where I'm okay with it. That's never my first choice, is just to go and just sit somewhere for me. That's, even if it is still hunting underneath a tree, right in the perfect, money spot where that you're about to catch something on a trail. It's not where I want it. I don't want to just sit in a deer blind. So I get it. The boring factor of hunting. And that's why I think, beginning to have these conversations, maybe even just with the person, well, what did you see?
Yeah.
What would you like to do? What appeals to you? Is it bow hunting? I saw that you have a traditional bow. Have you ever shot it before? Are you okay with firearms?
Yeah.
Trevor talked about fly fishing. Like, have you ever done any fly fishing? Even though you saw a river runs through it 3 times and you think that's like romantic, are you gonna, if I take you out down a river somewhere, are you gonna snap that thing over your leg because you're frustrated, or is that does it remotely even appeal to you?
Exactly.
Or can I take you out? Let's go bird hunting.
Yeah.
Let's talk, and then maybe see where it goes. Or you have those people that are like, no, sitting in a deer stand and just being real quiet and observing and watching. That sounds right up my alley.
Yeah.
But it's, and again, we're having a conversation trying to figure out how this goes. I mean, Britton, I would just ask you, as a guy, as Trevor said, an adult on-set hunter, I know you've done some observing over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when you first killed your deer, it was from a deer stand, right?
The first deer that I killed was from a tree stand. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, is that something when somebody said, hey, let's go to this piece of property, let's sit in a deer stand, we're going to watch them come under a feeder with corn. I mean, is that something that you were just already okay with, or were you looking for some more adventure?
Yeah, I always wanted the more. I'm all in or I'm completely out kind of a guy.
Yeah.
So I want to go like kill myself somewhere to do something.
Mm.
Usually.
You
But-
say that.
Yeah, I say
Yeah.
that exactly. But growing up watching at my buddy's place down in Hallettsville, they did that. There was a blind here and they sat in it, and then there was a feeder, 100 yards or less away. They just waited for the deer to walk under it and they shoot it. The first deer that I got to shoot was at a different buddy's property, and he didn't have a feeder. But what he had was on the right side of his property. I mean, his property was basically like a long, deep rectangle, and on the right side was a cornfield, and then his property was, I don't know, it was like 17 or 18 acres, so it wasn't super wide. It was more deep, and then on the other side was a wheat field, and then in the middle was a tank behind him, the big stock tank, and so these deer would just kind of like make a loop all day through his property. So we didn't. He was like, "Hey man, there's a tree stand there. Just sit there." I'm like, "And do what?" He's like, "Just sit there." I'm like, "Okay." And so I did. Deer walks up. It was like 25 yards away from me
Yeah.
with a rifle.
Right.
But now I don't. I mean, I always felt weird about the whole corn and the feeder thing. Now we'll use some corn to kind of throw out and see what's coming
Stop
in to
'em.
get it on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, or stop them and different stuff like that. But now I don't really, like when I go bow hunt, I sit at the base of a tree, and I don't. I mean, I'm camoed up and I sit somewhere where if I make a mistake, they're going to see me that make that mistake, rather than I'm sitting in a camo box that you can't even see,
Yeah.
and I can do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
That just appeals more. Not that that's wrong, but that appeals more to me. Having to be more disciplined in those things rather than just sitting there
Well, and
doing
that's
something.
that's a very common thing, and I don't want people, especially now, like when I started hunting, none of it. I mean, we couldn't even find videos, right? Like there was no hunting videos. There was Outdoor Life and
Field and
Field
Stream,
and Stream, and then the Texas Outdoors,
and
whatever.
and like National Geographic.
Yeah,
which
that was it.
was never really pro hunting.
No.
Negative. Anyway, but like me personally, like I said, I shot my first deer when I was like 5 or 6, right? And by the time I was 12, I'd gone nothing but archery, and then I hunted a deal, and then another 4 years. And I remember the very first year when I was 12, I got a reflex, whatever compound kit from Cabela's, right? And my uncle at the time had been a bow hunting a little bit because he was based up in Alaska in the Air Force, and he was like, yeah, and we went out there and we had literally 2 bales of hay, and we put a plate on it, like a paper plate, and I hit it at 20 yards. He's like, you're good.
Wow. Wow.
But
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Right.
I mean, shit. that longbow probably, or that I know that recurve shoots faster than that compound did at the
Right,
time, right?
right.
Like I was shooting. I mean, we didn't have carbon arrows. Like literally,
Yeah,
we're
right.
still shooting aluminums, right? Yeah, yeah.
Right, big old
Yeah,
round
exactly.
suckers. Yeah.
You go to the table and you would roll them super hard, and then
Yeah.
you figure out, and then you roll them to straighten them out, right?
Ground tuning, right?
Yeah. Anyway, but it's a progression, and it's almost like everybody wants to go to the top level
Yeah.
from day one. And I will tell you, I've taken a lot of people in the mountains on hunts, and they have not wanted to go there.
They're
They
done.
thought they did,
Right.
and they're like, I want to go home.
Yeah.
This sucks.
Get me out of here.
Tough shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
You're
here
a big
now.
boy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whatever. And I've had
Walk back to the
friends-
truck and camp there because I'll be
Yeah.
back in 5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, and again, it's okay. It's okay to start under a feeder if you
Yeah.
want to. Like,
Exactly.
people
Yeah.
need success early.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if I hear one more podcast bad-mouthing Texas over using corn or one way or the other, we don't have, like, I've been to Kansas.
Yeah.
We don't have highways. where the deer go.
Yeah.
The deer can go anywhere the hell they want to.
Oh, yeah.
We got brush country. You know what I mean? All this other
yeah,
stuff.
man.
Yeah, exactly. And I've
how
taken
you
corn
hunt
out of your.
is fine.
You've got 25,000 acres
Yeah.
planted with corn.
Yeah.
And you're going to chastise somebody who takes a barrel and puts 3 legs on it and drops corn out of it?
Right, and instead of it
Yeah.
being a box blind,
Yeah.
15 feet in the air, it's a pop-up blind that you take in
Yeah.
the middle of that cornfield that's
Exactly.
just been cut.
But-
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. But like the whole archery deal, like it's one more step, and that's when I lost my really committed to archery. Is I was sitting there on a bucket away from, 15 yards away from pile of corn, and I had this little 4-point come by, and I could hear him, like his stomach gurgle.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, this is freaking awesome.
I mean, that
You
was this
see-
very same thing happened to me. I sat 20 yards away from underneath a feeder in a pop-up blind, and have animals that close to you and not know that you're there is just. I mean, I could do that all day long, and I don't even need to
Yeah.
shoot one to
Yep.
Just sit
to be
there.
in
that's-
enthralled with that.
The progression thing is how it works. It's how it works for everybody, really.
Yep,
but
absolutely.
for me, it started off with watching them in a tree blind or in a big blind, and then shooting one from a tree stand. And then the next deer that I shot, it was kind of funny actually. It was at my wife's family's property up in Bowie, and my father-in-law was like, "Yeah, I got a rifle. I don't really feel like hunting. I'm just gonna sit here and smoke a cigar on the porch." I think I told you this story.
Yep.
He's sitting there and he's smoking a cigar, drinking a Coors Light, sitting on the porch of the cabin. I'm like, I would have gone with something different besides Coors Light, but whatever.
Easy now.
He's sitting there in a rocking chair, and his rifle that he's never shot, I sighted it in for him the day before. He's never shot it. It's sitting on the table next to him. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the other side of the property where I think some stuff is, and I'm going to walk over there. Not that it was super far, but I walk around, and I'm laying out there I just laid breech. I found some tall grass and it was kind of a little bit on a slope, and I laid down, put my backpack in front of me, and kind of used it as a tripod, and just laying there. And all of a sudden, I just hear poof. I'm like, that came from the house. You got to be kidding me. He texts me, hey man, can you come help me clean this thing? I'm like, you got to be joking. I was so pissed. I was out there for 4 or 5 hours. So I get up, get all my stuff, and I start walking back to the house, and this 8-point pops his head out 200 yards away from me, and I'm like, okay. And he keeps walking, and then he just stops and stares at me, and I'm standing there holding a backpack and a rifle what do I do now?
Yeah.
He's still staring at me, and I kind of jumped at him, and he didn't go anywhere, so I was like, okay, and I laid down, got in the exact same position, gave him 20, 30 seconds to see if he was going to go anywhere, shot him, and then I texted my father-in-law back and was like, hey, you got to come help me first.
Yeah.
Because mine's bigger.
I'm further away from the house.
I'm further away from
Bring
the
the
house.
truck.
And you got the gator. Yeah.
Bring the
So it went from that to this past season was my first season bow hunting. And, the opening day I went out there, I felt like an idiot because I spooked 15 deer. I felt so dumb. Dude flew down here from Colorado to hunt opening day in Texas. And they come in within range, and I turned my head, and they just all take off. I'm like, sorry, bro. But from that opening day, I didn't even get to shoot it. I didn't even pull my bow back. I didn't even knock an arrow. But just being out there and the same thing, hearing, even being 20, 30 yards away from a deer that's coming in, and it's surreal. You just sit there, and you're like, you can see things in their eyes. You can see the reflection of certain things in their eyes. And then, further on down the season, I had one come within 8 yards. He was the wrong direction, so I couldn't shoot him. But just hearing him breathe and hearing him, munch on things, and you can hear him swallow, it's just okay. I told Brian, I was like, hey, man, I think I might sell all my rifles and just do this bow thing because this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just want this whole thing to be more inclusive, and I don't want people to think that one way is better than the other. And I say that I own 6 freaking stick bows, right? You know what I'm saying? I want people, especially this whole deal, I want everyone to be it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you're legal,
hell you want, that's the hunt.
being legal is the one thing that we,
Yeah.
that's it.
Absolutely.
You should be
There's your
legal.
there's
That's
your
the
entry.
standard,
There's
right?
your
That's the
standard.
standard.
Be legal. And,
Be legal, and that's what we want to help people
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
We want to help people with being legal. We want to help people procure the meat, however, whatever, season, weapon, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
and I just want. We are terrible. We are absolutely terrible as a overall group, whatever you want to call us, industry, as far as throwing knives at each other.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I don't understand it. It makes no sense. Well, you're a traditional bow hunter, so you're the only one that matters. Well, I'm a compound bow
That's
hunter.
true.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's just like, or you're a rifle
Says the
hunter, or
same guy.
I
Yeah,
hunt
that's
this,
how
or I
she
hunt
says it.
private land, or I hunt public land. I mean, it doesn't matter. We're
Yeah.
hunters, and that's all that matters. And as
Yeah.
long as you're legal and you're doing things with, with
Good ethics.
good
and-
ethics, you're in. You're in the group, and,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean, my uncle, not Tater, different uncle.
Is
has
his name Tot?
right. It's Russell. He owns a like 40 or 50 acres that backs up to the state park there in Whitney, on the west side of the or east side of the lake. Excuse me. But he took a single wide trailer, took it out there, ripped the kitchen out, built a bunk bed, and there's a feeder like 150 yards outside of his window. So he literally wakes up, looks out the window and see if there's something there. If there is, he shoots it. If not, he just lays back down and goes to bed.
But that's okay.
I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's
It's like
okay.
His goal is just to get meat, and
Yeah.
he's doing that successfully. So
And that's where I have my issues with people talking trash about it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to climb the tallest mountain. You don't have to
No.
do any of this stuff, man. It makes me sick to think that people have to verify themselves
yeah,
in the
Exactly.
way, in the pursuit they want to. Like, the only thing that matters in this whole life is the space between the day I was born and the day I die, right? That's up to me and how I want to spend time, especially doing this, which very, 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 very few people do as far as our society.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be the last generation of Probandts or whatever that gets to partake into this
Yeah.
and know this stuff. Like, it's way more important. The overall campaign, the overall battle that we're fighting is way more important than how I fight it
Absolutely.
as an individual.
Well, and I think Trevor, you said it earlier, just getting people outside. I mean, it may be,
Absolutely.
if you've got a boat and you're just going to go out to the lake and leisurely, pull somebody in a tube or on skis, maybe not even fishing. But let's get them outside first. But
Yeah.
I think it is asking those questions of expectations. Like you
Yes.
talked about, you've taken
Yep.
several people out on the mountain because they said they wanted to go. And you try to tell them, you don't sugarcoat it. Say, oh, man, it's so romantic. I mean, the mountain breeze just through your hair.
It sucks
You-
sometimes.
you got to tell them, like, hey, do you realize that we're about to hike 6 miles in with a 50-pound pack
because half the
Hmm.
oxygen.
And we're gonna climb 3,000 feet in less than a mile.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't even know what that, I mean, that's like
It's-
straight up.
It sucks.
Yeah, it's-
Yes, it sucks. And but to be able to ask them, like, hey, what do you expect from this? If we're going out fishing, even to the stock tank, and they go, all I want to do is catch a fish.
Yeah.
Cool. That
more
helps
do
me.
that.
That helps me because if you told me, like, hey, I want to catch a 15-pound bass, that's a right. Well, they don't realize that that's like the platinum standard.
Yeah.
But they go, well, I saw Bill Dance do it for 15 years, and I watched him. I want to catch a 15-pound bass. Well, even Bill Dance didn't do it very well,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
or very often.
he caught
Right.
more. He caught more half-ounce bass than he did 15-pound
Exactly.
bass.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But my point is just what are their expectations first?
Yeah.
And then be able to hopefully set them up for success to where, kind of like what Britton's told us. I mean, he has progressed in his hunting. And, Britton may have never progressed past just sitting in a box blind watching deer under a feeder. And we've all said that's okay because I think most of us kind of started that way.
That's exactly how I started.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah. I mean, it becomes a personal preference at that point.
Right.
Again, as long as you're doing it legally and
And
ethically.
ethically.
Yeah.
I mean, I never would have thought about conservation had I not started a relationship with Brian Knoll.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude's like, we have a lady in Dripping who said, hey, I have this property and I need some deer killed. And we're like, oh, sweet. I'm just like, sweet, meat. Yeah, this is going to be great. Awesome. And he's like, okay, now here's how we have to look at this. And he tagged me in this, or copied me in an email to his buddy from Colorado, and it's like a freaking book
Yeah.
of, okay, well, here's what we need to take, here's what we don't need, and I'm like, I didn't even know this was part of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what is he talking about? Well, now, like, I'm reading, what is it, Sand County Almanac
Yeah.
by Leopold, and it's just like,
Lord.
it's opened up. I mean, it's completely changed the way that I look at the outdoors. Like, the way that I look at when we were in Colorado this last week. You know, I went to Bible school in Colorado for a year in Estes Park. I looked at the mountains as a bunch of rocks piled in front of my face.
Yep.
Now I go back and I look at them, I'm like, dude, what's alive on that mountain right there? Like, what's being tracked right now that's going to be something's dinner later? Or, you know, those kind of things. And it's just, it's all a personal preference at that point of how far do you want it to go?
Right.
How much skin do you want to put in the game? What do you want to learn?
Yeah, it's a I think it's going to be an awesome adventure, you know, because you know, you and I were talking, Trevor, on the phone about, you know, just my experience of working with somebody who was just like, hey, I'm interested in getting hunting, and how rewarding that was to have him go through that process and see him go through that process and just be a part of it. You know, I mean, that is just as rewarding for me as going out and actually harvesting an animal or hunting or doing that. Just seeing somebody go through that, seeing somebody get the sickness like we've got it, and develop that was one of the best feelings I've had.
Well, and then it's kind of funny. There's a guy that worked with a lot of the train to hunt stuff, and he was from the DFW area, and Josh Lynch is the guy's name, and was this 3 or 4 years ago anyway, and he had never been a hunter, but he wanted to be an elk hunter, right? And so ended up just through the whole social media look at faces and all this other garbage anyway, and I invited him out to go to Sonora at a little place, and it was a bow hunt. He wanted to bow hunt, do all this other stuff, and he shot that first deer right on the very first. I mean, he'd been in the blind for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's just so many deer, right?
Yeah.
Like just target-rich environment, right?
Yeah.
But going through that and going through the headlamp and teaching him how to blood trail and do all this other stuff, and then but literally me, whenever he told me like he had shot one, I was so much more pumped,
Right.
Yeah.
to see him do that.
Yeah.
And that's like my boys this year. We're down at Sonora again, and they had shot their very first deer. We were literally walking through, and I felt like a sorry African PH hunter because I couldn't get the sticks right. But I was trying to get them and they have their little 223 single shot, whatever. And these deer are so dang tame. Of course, it's not a high fence, it's not anything. It's just not much hunting pressure, right? So we set it up there, and the deer looked at them. We set it up there, made sure it was within 50 yards.
Yeah.
They stood there, you know, I mean, because we just still hunted it into the wind.
Yeah.
Right? Little things like that, and you take it, make your shot. Holy cow. Literally 7 minutes later, Big Brother shoots his first little buck. You know what I mean?
Cool.
Yeah.
I got two dead deer.
Yeah.
And they have no idea the work that Dad's about to have
Of
to
course,
do.
they weigh 100 pounds each. You know, I
Right.
can grab them, you know, pick them up and carry them. But you know, it's like that, and seeing the way that people get excited about it actually is it feeds my soul way more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's just one of those things. And maybe I've killed enough things, and I grew up on a ranch and killed enough things and seen enough things killed and all this stuff. Like I've had enough killing in my life, right? Like, but to help others enjoy and to be part of the outdoors and understand what is going on, and that the killing is not the goal. It's the kind of it's the crescendo, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is the thing, and it's not fun. Like I don't know how many animals I've killed in my life. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, right? Like deer, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, and to see that light go out of their eyes is not fun.
Agreed.
That's not but you understand and you have an emotional investment into that animal.
Yeah.
That no one else ever will. Right? Like you don't ever go to the best steak place in the world and are emotionally invested into that one hunk of meat that you are.
Other than just bliss.
Yeah.
You're emotionally invested in looking at a piece of paper that comes at the end of the night that's like, whoa!
Yeah. But that, I mean, I don't know. I just that's the whole goal with all this stuff is me personally, I want to do whatever I can. And this is something like we've never had before, right? Like I can talk to you across the world, right?
Yeah.
with all this technology and all this other stuff, but there's been a cost to that, and it is we don't work with each other individually.
Nope.
On everything.
Yeah.
We need to get back to that, especially when it comes to this, because there's no book. It's too complex. There's too many things going on all the time. Whether that's weather, whether that's throughout the seasons, right? Like all those deer, all those fish, things move. And you have to understand that. Like, there's no book. Ranella can't write a book. You know what I mean? Jim Bob can't make a video. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do that and know what the heck is going on. You can get the framework.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like and because of that, what's great about that, Trevor, what you just said is when you get out there, it's almost like in the field theory, because we talked about that golden triangle of the deer or elk or whatever. They have everything they need right there. You know where that is, so you know where you can go and ambush them as a hunter. But for some reason, you may sit there for 30 days in a deer stand on the ground, whatever, moving around the place with the wind and being as gentle as you can be as a hunter and still never kill anything.
Yeah.
And then I can ask the four of you that I'm looking at and go, why do you think? And everybody's going to have a different theory.
Yep.
Even though you've been active practicing, maybe you did read a book.
I'll be honest, though. I'm not going to have a theory. I'm just going to tell you your luck's probably just as good as mine. I'll be like, I couldn't tell you one way or the other.
Yeah. But that's a big deal. Like, Jason, where did you shoot that coyote with your bow? Where were you?
Just outside of Floresville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
And that was with my stepdaughter and my wife.
Yeah, but every parcel, every piece of land, you understand, like, animals travel through it differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every parcel, like, you can go anywhere in the world, and there's going to be some sort of critters, whether that's why are the squirrels over here, or the cottontails over here. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's where you got to understand, like, and no one understands this is the interaction between all the different levels, right? From why you've got different trees here, you got different plants here. Why are the other animals here? Why are they not here? That's where things. When you quit looking at all of it, again, you see the forest, right? Now how can I help you see the tree?
Yeah.
And everything, and that's the difference between being somebody who goes outside and being an outdoorsman or outdoorswoman.
That's a good point.
Because if you understand that, you understand how it all interacts. And then, like I said, I've got 30 years of practice, and I do a lot of things that I don't think about.
You just
Same thing with driving down here, right? Like, I don't think about switching lane, or
Right.
hopefully
Well,
I
I
get
get
I get what you
Yeah.
It's just second nature. It's like breathing in and breathing out. I don't think to breathe in and breathe out. It just happens.
It just happens.
So.
And anybody, and that's the cool thing about hunting and fishing.
Yeah.
And I want this to get through to anybody and everybody. Anybody can do it.
Anybody
Can do it. You know what I mean? Well, and that's another thing. Like, there's a lot of these states, including ours and things like this. Like, if you do have a physical handicap or things like this, there are world-class opportunities just set aside just for you. Yep. People don't know about these things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's the whole deal. We want everyone to, like I said, talk about stepping into the arena. That's what we want people to do. We want to help facilitate more and more people doing that, because, without people that are actually out there enjoying and partaking into what we love so much,
Absolutely.
then it won't be around anymore.
Yeah.
That was this past spring. I took my wife on her first pig hunt back in April, and I didn't really expect us to get anything, but we'll go try. And so I held the rifle down there, and I'm so used to the property, like I know the property, I know where the animals move, that I got so focused on this section, right? But because she's new to the property, she's exploring everything. She's watching, and all of a sudden she's like, "Jason, there's a pig over there." I'm like, No, there's probably not. It's probably the cows. No, there's a pig over there. And I'm like, No, there's not. And finally I look, and sure enough, there's a herd of them. So sometimes also as us, I think we get so caught up in our groups that, like, you're an expert, you're an expert, you're an expert. Let's all hunt together. Let's leave these guys. Yeah, I'll take you out once, but then you're on your own. But I think it's invaluable to get the new ones to get their experience as well. That they come at life, they come at hunting, they come at fishing with a different set of views, a different set of standards that we adopt, we mold, whatever we need to do.
Yeah,
Agreed.
And you can learn from anybody, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's what not to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean,
Hey, you can come with me if you want to learn what not to.
yeah.
We've all made those mistakes. Yeah.
I mean, and that's my thing on being like a public land hunter here in the state is like it's not it's a lot harder, right? You're gonna
Yep.
fail, 9.5 times out of 10. You may not even see anything, but I very quickly learned that as long as I'm the reward for me going in there and failing those 9.5 times, and not even really necessarily failing, but not seeing anything, is take something else out of the woods. Take something like, why did something do? Learn something, find something new, look for a new spot. Even if you can walk through the woods and that's an elm, that's an oak tree, that's a white oak tree, that's a red oak tree. If you can dissect, the forest to the level of a biologist, you still are going to find something new. Oh, there's a new trail that I didn't notice, and there's something new that I didn't see. That to me was the reward, and that's what keeps me going back all the time, is trying to find something new and trying to outsmart something that lives there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That's a hard thing to do.
That's also geared towards avoiding you.
Yeah,
Well, and you're absolutely right like that. It's real interesting. Like, I can sit on a fly fishing hole all day long. I can go 600 yards, and I can go take me 6 hours. I've learned to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Because the less I move, the less I do all this other stuff. And that was talking about expectations, like we were talking about earlier, right? And my 8-year-old the other day, I was like, we're going to walk down this trail. And he just, no, that's not.
Yeah.
Those animals, they don't care about any time. Their time, there's no such, it's light or dark.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't care about that. And that's the hard part with a lot of people, especially now, is we're all hauling butt everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere we go, we're frazzled. We're worried about this timetable or this one way or other. And that's like one of those big, when you go out west or anyway, like on a big hunt, like it takes you a day or two just to chill out, right?
Yeah.
Well, but are those people willing to do that? Like that, and that's going to be an individual basis. Like, are they willing to go and just spend time and learn, or do they need success early?
Instant
Right.
Well, I think
gratification.
because the society is results driven, right?
Yeah.
Everything you do, what do you have to show for your time in the woods, right? My wife didn't understand that until she went on the hunt. Like, what do you mean you were gone for 9 hours and you didn't bring something home? Like, results driven.
Yeah.
You spent how much and you were gone for 10 days? And
That's
you
a good
didn't
point
kill
because
anything?
Yeah, and I've you have to enjoy the process of something, not the end result.
Yeah.
Like, I used to be a climber, right? And you may make it 10 feet up a problem and fall and go, all right, that was 10 feet I didn't do before. The next day, you make it 12 feet. Right?
Yeah.
All right, I learned something from those 2 feet that I didn't know yesterday.
How can we help set expectations?
Exactly.
Well,
How?
I think it's,
I don't know. Like, I mean,
I think
anyone?
that's a
Anyone?
great question. But I do think it goes back with having that conversation
Up
with
front.
whoever our mentee is going to be.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? You saw so and so hunt with a recurve bow, or hey, I shot it in Boy Scouts, so that's something I'm familiar with. Those kind of things. But I also think taking the romanticism out of it as well. A little bit for them, like we talked about with the mountain thing.
Yeah.
Hey, you really think you want to hunt at 10,000 feet with 45 pounds on your back and hiking into camp and being there for 6 days, where we're not gonna sit for like 2-3 hours and then go back and get biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
We're gonna be out for 12 hours hunting.
Yeah.
Which I had a friend of mine went to Alaska for the first time to go caribou hunting, and all he had ever done was go out to their little 75-acre little farm. Sit for a couple hours. Usually somebody shoots a deer. You go in, you eat breakfast, take a nap, go back out in the evening, and hunt. And he thought you only hunted, in 3-hour spurts.
Yeah.
Well, he went to Alaska where you can hunt for 20 hours because the daylight is 20 hours.
Yeah.
And he said it wore him out after 2 days.
I mean,
But it is having those conversations of expectation, but then being able to say, when somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, let's go to Colorado," and I have to look at myself, and I've recently lost a lot of weight and gotten in some better shape to where I probably could go. But if I have to look at my friend that may be in the same thing, and I go, "Dude, we are not ready for that." And they go, "What do you mean? You just we can take our 4-wheelers." No, you can't take your 4-wheelers. Well, we can do that. Well, that costs more money You know, so what are we willing to do?
Yeah.
And
That's the key. And you can be very successful on a very low impact deal if you go out and scout and you know where the water is and you go the opening weekend and all this other and you're hunting resident elk. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can be successful without being Cameron Haynes.
Right.
You have to set your expectations just like you're talking about.
I
Absolutely.
think that was something that I learned this past bow season. It was my first bow season this past fall, and like I watched as soon as I got a bow, I just YouTubed like Ridge Reaper and just watched all of those.
Yeah.
So you watching guys like Remy and Cam Haynes, all these dudes
John
who are just
Dudley.
like, oh
Yeah.
man, yeah, John Dudley, and they're just it's like, oh
It's easy.
yeah, that looks pretty
It's
easy.
easy.
You're just
30
closer to the animal.
30
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's I
and
think the
600,000 arrows.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned after my first day of this, and then all the deer took off. Uh-oh. I think I shook my head too hard. You know, turning around and all those deer ran off, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I need to change my expectations. I need to go into this as a beginner saying it's okay to be a beginner. It's okay for me to sit here and learn
And that's
what not to do.
all I want to do. I want it to be okay
Yeah.
to shoot dinks, to
Yeah.
shoot whatever legal walks in. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Shoot a
Yeah.
spike.
And we
Shoot
need
a-
to
shoot
celebrate
a-
the heck out of
A
it.
doe,
Absolutely.
You know?
And not just for little 6-year-olds. Like,
No,
we
no,
need to do
agreed.
it for 36-year-olds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
their very first animal.
Yeah.
We need to freaking be like, dude, congratulations. And that's what hunters are. And that's what, like, I've never, knock on wood, I've never, like, come across a camp on
Yeah.
a big hunt or whatever and found a-holes.
No.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's cool. We're all there together.
We haven't had a camp with me yet, so
Yeah.
Anyway, you know what I'm saying? But it just seems like once we get into the fake digital world, that everybody wants to get in a dang pissing match
Yeah.
one way or other. But
Yeah.
I'm
Everybody
super
posts the
pumped.
best and
yeah,
leaves out
I'm
the worst.
I'm super pumped with. I mean, and I guess that's just the way it is, right? Like, we want to think we want to project that everything's hunky dory
Yeah.
when our life is falling
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
around our heads.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think just media needs to do a better job.
Hashtag
of
blessed.
Yeah.
Media just needs to do a better job of telling that story overall. Like, everybody doing taking away some of the romanticizing
That doesn't.
of it,
That
taking
doesn't.
away
That
the
doesn't. That doesn't.
Doesn't
That
sell.
doesn't sell.
It doesn't
the
sell.
supplements.
Yeah.
That doesn't sell bows.
Yeah.
That doesn't sell anything.
yeah.
yeah, no, I think we
But-
agree, but
But that's what I'm saying.
it,
Where the
it
money
would
is.
it would
is where
help
the
to
deal
set
is.
the expectation, though.
I couldn't
Yeah.
agree with you more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that's the only time anybody has disagreements or being upset, right? Is when you've got lack of communication and you have not set the correct expectations.
You have unspoken expectations, or
Absolutely. Like, oh, dude, we're gonna go.
we're
out
all
here.
married, right?
We're
We've
all-
found
we're
the
gonna-
problems
Yeah.
with that.
We're gonna
Yeah.
Yes.
we're gonna go slay, right?
Yeah.
And you come home with nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, we're going to go out here, we're going to have a good time, we're going to learn about what the heck is going on and why it's going on, and hopefully we're going to get something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That should be the
Goal.
And
Yeah.
and that's successful.
Exactly.
And that.
It doesn't make the hunt
It's
any
successful.
less successful because
No.
now you know that extra 2 feet that you didn't know yesterday.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
well,
learned something more.
yeah, with kids or something like this, like,
Yeah.
oh, we're going to go get Mickey Mouse and we're going to go get autographs and all this other stuff versus, hey, man, we're going to go out here and we're going to go get a snow cone, right? Like,
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an interesting way, but I'm very excited about this. Like you said, talking about stepping into the arena, getting more people outside, and the big deal like we had at the last full draw up in Fort Worth. We have to find people that are willing to mentor people.
Yeah.
That's going to be the hard part, but that's okay. If we can start with 10 people or 4 people, and they can help one person, that's still more people than what we have.
Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
think about it in this way, Trevor. Because we just saw this a little while ago into the little room of magic archery country hits here, where they set up all the bows and all that. But remember that gentleman was coming in, and it was going to be his first bow. We get to we're watching him get measured. I actually watched this guy get out of his car, and he's excited about shooting archery. Who knows where he heard about it? Because
Yeah.
in my estimation, my judgment of the man, he looked just like a city guy,
Yeah.
And so was it from Joe Rogan podcast? Was it from a buddy?
Yeah.
Whoever it was. Maybe somebody offered to take him hunting. But it was just really cool to see. I think because over there it was Britton and Trevor and I. and Abe, I think you were setting up here, but what was really neat is, Trevor was just kind of in there shooting his stick bows into the foam in the little room there, and they're coming in to set up this guy's bow.
Yeah.
And all three of us got these big smiles, right? And was like, "Oh, is this your first bow?" And he just kind of, like shyly nodded.
Yeah.
I don't even think he tried to acknowledge Trevor.
Yeah.
But it was just, I thought that was
that.
kind of a microcosm of what we're talking about here.
Absolutely.
Is you got three guys. I'm new. Britton's new. Trevor's been in it for a while, but all three of us knew the excitement that this guy is about to walk into, because he is walking into the arena.
Welcome to the addiction.
And
Exactly.
to plug archery country here, they really do have a great knowledgeable staff of helping people walk in, not just to get into the arena, but to be successful in the arena. And I know that's what we're talking about
Not
too.
all places are like that.
I know,
unfortunately, especially in the archery game, and I don't know why. Well, luckily, we've been very blessed with all the areas that we've been doing all these full draw film tours.
Yeah.
Actually,
Cinnamon Creek.
See, here
Leading
I
Edge
am,
and Birdie.
a beginner, and I'm like, dude, these archery guys are awesome. Like, I've never experienced anything but archery country where you come in and they're like, hey, man, is it okay if I, show you,
most of them are like,
actually
hey,
how
are you
you
going to
should
buy
do
a
that?
bow or not? Then get out.
Hey,
Yeah.
your measurement's 28, but I'm going to sell you a 29.
Yeah.
That's what I got on the rack.
I've never bought a bow here.
Well, speaking
But
of
they
that,
help me more than anything.
Plugging our friends at Leading Edge down in Bernie, I walked in with my bow, and I went to Cabela's, and because I didn't know any better, and I knew they had a bow shop, and went in, and they set up my bow that I have now, and then I went to Leading Edge because I had some questions about different things, and they were like, dude, draw your bow back. And so I did, and I thought maybe I was doing something wrong. Well, no. I have a 31.5-inch draw length, and they had me set up at 28.
Oh, you're just.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and I'd been shooting like that for like 9 months.
Oh wow,
That's awesome.
And they were just amazed I didn't have truly really bad habits from doing it, but I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
But it was great to have that store. I mean, and they spent almost 3 hours with me, and they didn't have to, because they could have done like what just Trevor said. Hey, we're going to help you out here, but we need you to buy a new bow today. Or if you're not buying a new bow, get
maybe
out.
you should go to Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah, you go back to Cabela's.
Go back to Cabela's.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a huge place is finding something like if it's BHA, your local chapter here in Texas, obviously for us, to find a group of guys, and I mean, we have pint nights all over the state. There's always something going on where you can come and hang out with somebody, and I guarantee you walk into a group of guys, and you're like, hey, I just want to do this. You're going to be the star of that pint night, guarantee.
Yep. Whether you want to be or not.
Whether you don't, you're going to hear about it, and everybody, you're going to be somebody. There's going to be somebody who's going to take you under their wing, and no one's going to be like, nah.
And I was just going to say the other neat thing that I've liked. You don't see it so much on Instagram, but on the Facebook page of BHA, when somebody asks about a piece of land, it's not like it just goes radio silent.
No.
Everybody's. I mean. Now, there has not so far been GPS coordinates given out yet, but
they're not going to like me.
But I'm just saying it's almost like that kind of kindness that has been given is like, hey, I've been to this area, I know where you're going. DM me and I will let you know where I've seen deer movement. Last year when I drew a tag for that place here in Texas or even in Colorado, or are you going up to Pagosa Springs? Oh, I know a great place. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what's been really neat to see on the Texas BHA page, and other BHA chapters may be able to do the same thing, but it's just been really neat when somebody comes in and says, hey, I'm getting into elk hunting, my first rifle season. What do I need?
Well,
I'm thinking about these boots.
Yeah.
Are they good, or not, and it's been great to see some of that already happening, Trevor,
For sure.
But I'm like I said, I'm excited about it as well, just kind of taking some people out, and dove season's upon us. It's almost here.
And that's the easiest one to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it is very quick. You are results driven. You are more than likely at least going to put a dove down. If you don't, we got to probably talk later. But
let's go hit up the target.
Claybirds.
Yeah.
The claybirds.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there are plenty of public dove fields around Texas.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that they have a lot of
Small game
the
leases.
private land, leases and all that. And that might be a big deal to help out some people where they might not be willing to give away deer spots, but it might be one of those deals. Hey, let's get into. I've never really gotten into squirrel or rabbit hunting, but hell, maybe I need to.
Let's go.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, you can still learn a lot.
Absolutely.
And that's one of those things that'll be fun. So
100%. Well, I mean, this is going to be something that comes out constantly, all the time. So stay tuned. This one is kind of our intro to, and I mean, I don't know, we haven't quite decided the name on yet, but Stepping into the Arena definitely, I think, is the fan favorite. But I think we're going to definitely be a little bit more targeted on most of our conversations on specific things.
Yes.
So we're going to start kind of at the starting point where, what do I need to do this legally, which is, like we've talked about, the most important thing that we're going to judge you by is if you're legal or not. And outside of that, all judgment is left at the door. But we're going to help you figure out how to be legal. And then so I think that's going to be kind of our next.
And I think a great thing, and this is a really good timing, even though it's a little late in the year, but I think this is a great timing for us to, and maybe the Facebook group, or maybe there's another way, but listen, who is not hunted, who is interested?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sound off. We will find somebody around you. We'll find you a bow shop. We'll find you a gun shop. We'll find you a whatever. We need to lean on this resource that we have.
Yeah.
Because we all get energized. If we've been hunting for a long time, we get energized when we take new people out.
Yeah,
show them new
absolutely.
things.
Yep.
It's like, otherwise, like, I got all this knowledge. My wife doesn't care.
No.
Like, who gives a crap, right? Like, no one's like, oh, well, yeah, you can track a wounded deer. You're like, no one cares, right? But if I get to talk about what I have, and I'm excited about it, and I'm passionate about it, whether that's if I was a karate master, right? Like, I would be passionate about teaching and what I've spent the majority of my life caring about and learning about. Like, I enjoy that.
Yeah.
So I think the coolest thing about this is, and we'll run this, but I think having this BHA kind of group and support system around this project is going to help out, and anything that we can do to help is, I mean, I think we're going to get a lot of people, maybe not a lot, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 15, but we're going to get some people, their very first animals, and we're going to have them feeding their friends and family, and we're going to get people emotionally involved into our lifestyle that we're all sitting here talking about. And that, to me, that's as good as it gets.
100%. Couldn't have said any better.
Totally agree.
Anyway.
Yep.
We're going to go help out.
Yeah. Full Draw is about to get underway here. We've been watching Jared Kennedy do all the work. So either we stay here and keep talking, or we just kind of keep letting him work.
He's already podcast famous, isn't he?
He is already podcast famous.
He is podcast famous.
He is podcast famous. So, but yeah, we are. This will be over by the time you're listening to this. But we are at Archery Country at Full Draw.
Yeah, it's not a live call-in.
Yeah, this is not a live call-in. And Becky from Boise.
Hey, hello guys.
Hey
What's going on?
guys.
First time caller.
Long-time listener.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so pay attention. So stay tuned. There's gonna be a lot of stuff coming out soon about this, and we thank you for listening, and join the Texas BHA page group. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter.
Join BHA.
Join BHA.
Absolutely.
You will hear this, and there is a Yeti raffle going on right now. So for $25, you get your name in the Yeti, and you get a year membership.
Ooh.
And if you want to do it as a family, it's $35. So.
Yep.
Boom.
There you go.
Come hang out.
And y'all hit up Britton for any newbie questions from a newbie.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to walk through this together. So we appreciate you guys listening, and
catch y'all next time.
next time. Yeah.